Half of last week's games, which had a couple of thrillers.
Definitely, we had 2 overtime games in the PD. Hampton, of course, winning 13-10 over Phoebus, and Menchville putting a scare in the Qtrs and
Yeah.
fight them off 28-21.
Yeah, well, that leads us right into the game of the week, and it was what you would expect from Hampton Phoebus. Hampton won 13-10 in overtime, and all I can say is, wow, what a game.
It was definitely a great game. Eric Anderson had 2 field goals blocked with under 18 seconds left in the game. The first was a 20-yard attempt, which was nullified by a encroachment call. And then his second opportunity from 18 yards was blocked by Jamel Red and Dallas Cogdell. Both got in there. Phoebus' Tony Pittman, he was a workhorse for the Phantoms. He had 37 carries, 148 yards. In the second half alone, he had 27 carries. But they just didn't have enough to get the job done. Early in the game, Boombox Lyles, who scored Phoebus' touchdown on a 4th and goal reception, intercepted Jeremy Eubank, giving the Phantoms great field position, but they were unable to make a field goal after the turnover. And then, the Crabbers came right back down, put 7 on the board with Marshawn Williams, who the sophomore had 53 yards and 2 touchdowns. And the second touchdown came on a draw play from 9 yards out in overtime to seal the deal for the Crabbers.
Yeah, all I can say is what a play call. 3rd and 9 or 3rd and 10, and you run the draw play.
Well, I don't think they wanted to be too risky and pass the ball and maybe have an interception when they were 3 points away from sending the game in second overtime.
Yeah.
So I think it was a great call by Hampton. And Marshawn Williams, he finished the job.
That he did. All I can say is both teams played extremely great defense. I mean, it was hard hitting to the point where you thought it was a Steelers-Ravens, LSU-Alabama game. It was just, every time somebody got the ball, as far as running the ball, I mean, you were getting hit hard, whether it be the running back doing the hitting, the linebacker, or whoever it may be. You were hearing helmets crack. It was just a good old-fashioned slobber knocker,
What you call lights out football.
Yeah, a great rivalry game. Take nothing from either team. A couple of mistakes here or there towards the end, maybe with clock management. But besides that, wonderful game. Yeah. And don't be surprised if, as usual, there's a round 2.
Well, if there is a round 2, both sidelines better bring a couple extra bags of smelling salt. I'll tell you that.
Yes, sir. We'll move into what was another very competitive game, and in fact, almost knocked off an undefeated team from the looks of one half, but then the second half, they came back and showed why they are undefeated and why they finished the year as hands-down Peninsula District champs, and that was Woodside beating Bethel 30-20. They were actually down at halftime, and as they've done all year, they made second half adjustments.
Yeah, Woodside was down 14-13 and scored 17 unanswered in the second half and ended up with a 30-20 win over the Bethel Bruins. The win gave Woodside its first 10-0 finish in regular season history. They won their first Peninsula District championship. You got to give Danny Dotson all the credit in the world. That guy, he knows how to get them boys motivated in the second half. They've fallen behind quite a few games this year. Definitely. But the second half, that's a different Woodside Wolverine team.
Definitely. You got to also give credit to the fullback, Jaleel Moore. He went crazy.
Yeah, Jaleel Moore had 132 yards on 18 carries, 2 touchdowns. And coming into the game, he had 132 yards in the 9 games they had played prior. And then he matched that against the Bethel Bruins. He had a great performance, and Donnell Lewis on defense was sensational. He knocked out one receiver out of the game with a monstrous collision at midfield. Then he intercepts a pass. I'll tell you what, Donnell Lewis is something special.
Yeah, I think anybody that gets their hands on him will get a gem.
And you also got to give credit to Tyler Hargrove. He had a couple sacks, a few tackles for losses, and he was definitely disrupting the Bethel Bruin passing game. Just with his ability to get in on Frank Brown.
Definitely. Now we're going to go ahead and move into the Heritage Hurricanes going against the Denby Patriots. Heritage proved that, hey, we're not a bottom-tier team. We're not going to hang around with you. You know, if we're supposed to beat you, we're going to beat you, and we're going to beat you sound by pounding the Patriots 38-6. All I can say is they're going into next year on a high note. They won their last 3 games. All games they should have won, but still, the fact of the matter, in the past, Heritage wouldn't have won those games, and this year they did, and I think they're on the uptick coming into next year. They still got Abdullah coming back. I think, you know, they're starting to learn how to win ball games, great coaching, good team chemistry. I think they're on the right path.
Well, the Hurricanes fell behind early in this game, 6-0 to Denby, and then they reeled off 38 unanswered. Khalid Abdullah went for 169 yards and a touchdown. That guy put up some impressive numbers this year as a junior. He'll definitely be back next year, along with the quarterback Crosby and a few other the Hurricanes. They have a nucleus returning, and they should be competitive next year.
Definitely. I see maybe them slipping into the middle of the pack and maybe up and giving a couple of the top-tier teams a scare, too.
Yeah, there'll be some shuffling in the PD standings next year, I guarantee you that.
Definitely. We'll go ahead and move into the Warwick-Gloucester game, where it took a little bit for Warwick to get going, but once they did, you know, they finished the job. They won that game 35-0 behind Josh Butler and Carden Johnson. Carden Johnson went crazy, didn't he?
Well, Carden Johnson entered the game needing something like 116 yards to go over 1,000, and he got 196. You know, he made sure he was going over that mark. And the Warwick Raiders, they fine-tuned. And they have a tough matchup this week in the first round of the Eastern Region Division 5 playoffs against Phoebus.
Yeah, they've won their last 2, so they've got a little bit of momentum headed into the playoffs. And I think it was good to get a couple, you know, wins under their belt because they had struggled there for a bit. But now comes a true test where it's one and done. If you lose now, you go home for the rest of the year.
Yeah, I agree.
All right, and then that brings us into the last overtime game between Qtrs and Menchville. And who would have thought? I mean, if you asked me last week, I believe I said it was probably going to be like 28-0, but Menchville fought and scratched, and, you know, they showed they have some heart.
Well, they definitely showed some resiliency. Qtrs jumped out first play of the game. Adrian Pope goes 80 yards untouched for a touchdown, and it looked like it was going to be a blowout. But Dylan Christopher connected from 37 yards on a field goal, cut it to 7-3. 1 second before the first quarter ended, Menchville coaches call a timeout. They had like a slight wind to their back. It was 4th and long, and they were going to give Christopher a try for a 60-yard field goal. And as he told Virginia Tech offensive line coach and recruiter Kurt Newsom, he said before he graduated high school, he'll make a 60-yarder. And granted, this game, he hit the 60-yard, broke a VHSL record held by 2 other guys. That was the previous record was 58 yards, and now, you know,
Menchville's own got the new record.
Dylan Christopher is now etched in stone in the VHSL record book with a 60-yarder, and I've seen him attempt a 68-yarder. He fell 3 or 4 yards short. I think this guy can make a plus 60-yarder, and if given the opportunity this game, he would have made the one from 60 from about 63 yards. Yeah,
he's got a big leg, and I'm sure a lot of Division I schools are going to come calling.
Yes, indeed.
Definitely. Well, that wraps up the Week 10 games. We'd like to congratulate all the teams that made the playoffs, and also congratulate the other teams that weren't as lucky or didn't play as well to make the playoffs. But there's always next year. Go home, work hard, practice hard, go to the skills camps and whatnot. And just, continue to work on your craft, and, there's always next year. Anything's possible.
Yeah, all season is where championships are won, that's for sure.
Definitely. So we'll go ahead and move into the playoff matchups, and we're going to go ahead and start with Division 5. And we're going to go ahead with the number 1 seeded in the Eastern Region Division 5, Hampton Crabbers, and they'll be hosting the number 8 Green Run. I believe they're the Stallions from Virginia Beach, correct?
Yes, that is correct.
Hampton's coming in at 8-2. Green Run sneaking in at 5-5. Won their last 2 games to sneak into the playoffs over a Nansman River bunch. I believe they came in just slightly above them in the power points. But I look for Hampton to dominate this one. I think, Green Run slipped in. Not to say the beach is soft or anything like that, but they're more of a wide open district, more pass and stuff like that. PD's ground and pound, rough. You better bring your A game to stop that running attack. And I see Hampton winning this one 28-7. Do look out for Green Run's running attack. They do run the ball well, but as we saw Friday night with Phoebus, Hampton can stop and run.
Well, keep this in mind. Hampton started the PD's season 1-2 for the first time since before Mike Smith coached the Crabbers. They've won 6 straight. They won 7 of their last 9 PD games. These guys are hot right now. They're playing at a climatic level. I look for them to cruise by Green Run, 38-6, led by a stingy defense and a strong running game. I look for Eubank to open it up a little bit because come playoff time, the most balanced teams are the ones that win.
Yeah.
So I like the Crabbers to roll in this one.
Yeah, I could definitely see Hampton doing damage in the playoffs because they do have Eubank back there who can throw the ball well, and they do have a running attack to go with it. So they are one of the more balanced teams we have seen this year.
They have a nasty defense.
Yes, they do. They hit. But now we'll move into the other Division 5 game with the Phoebus Phantoms hosting the Warwick Raiders. Phoebus coming in at 8-2, coming off of a loss to Hampton. A game they very well could have won, but, everything happens for a reason, and Hampton had a little more resilience and came home with the W. And they're going to, like I said, go against the 6-4 Raiders who are coming in off of 2 straight victories. Phoebus has lost 2 out of their last 3, haven't they?
Yes, they have, but they're not going to lose this one. Look, the first time they played the Raiders, they won 13-7. Ramon DeLoach caught a 38-yard touchdown pass with 8:50 left in the game to seal up that win. But in the first game, there was no Tony Pittman. There was no Mark Wilson. These guys have came in and made an immediate impact for the Phantoms.
Yes, they have.
I like Pittman to score 2 touchdowns, Belfield to add another with the Anderson field goal. I like the Phantoms 24-7 in this contest.
The question is Anderson going to be able to kick the field goals this week?
Well, if not, they have Dylan Krimp, who showed last week he can make a field goal in a pressure situation when he connected from 20 out in overtime.
Yeah, I don't know if I would risk putting Anderson out there right now. Maybe give him another week to let that, leg injury heal up. He wasn't getting the elevation he normally gets on his kicks, so I don't think they're going to need it to be, in a clutch situation. But I'm going Phoebus 21-7. Warwick does have a tough defense. They've struggled, towards the end of the year against the top-tier teams. But I do look for Pittman. It looks like he's going to start to get more of the carries now that playoff time is coming around. And, no disrespect to Belfield, but Tony Pittman is an elite runner. He runs hard. And when I say he runs hard, he reminds me of an Adrian Peterson. No, he's not Adrian Peterson, but he reminds me with his style of running. That bulldog, you're not going to hit me, I'm going to hit you.
Spike don't play with girls.
Yeah, I remember that from early in the season. Spike don't play with girls. But, again, like I said, I think Phoebus has too much. Warwick has had a solid year. They lost a couple games I thought they may win, but congratulations. I think Warwick did well, and they return a little bit next year.
Yeah. So
now we'll go ahead and move into the D6 games, and we'll start out with the number 8 seeded Bethel Bruins, who are coming in at 7-3, and they got to go across the water to play at one of the toughest places in the state to play, and that's at Oscar Smith, the number 1 ranked team in the Southeastern District, and they're 9-1, and their only loss came to Gilman, Maryland, and that's a nationally ranked team.
Yeah, come playoff time, you got to be able to run the ball, and especially against a team such as Oscar Smith, who has a quick striking offense. You want to keep that offense off the field as much as possible, and in order to do so, you got to run the ball, control the clock, control the game. Bethel does not have the running game to do that, so therefore, I'm picking Oscar Smith in this one, in a relatively closer game than what people may think, 27-20. I do like Frank Brown and company, Willie Davis, and Rashawn Proctor to put some points on the scoreboard, but at the end of the game, it's going to be too much J.C. Coleman and the Tigers.
Yeah, I agree with you. In order to hang with Oscar Smith, you have got to run the ball and keep the ball out of the hands of their potent offense. They've got like 6 Division I commitments on their team. I mean, you've got, everyone knows, Virginia Tech's J.C. Coleman. The boy is an absolute beast. Hands down, probably the best running back I've seen in the state. And, I mean, until you see him, you don't realize how fast he is. If he gets to that second level, forget about it. Put it on the board, count it, and he's coming in fresh because they've been resting him and cutting back his carries of late. So he's going to be 100%. Not to mention you got J.J. Williamson, Gooding, you've got Stallings. They've just got too much firepower. I do like Bethel's passing attack, but as Jason, stated, you have to run the ball and keep their offense off the field. And I just don't see Bethel with a strong enough rushing attack. I'm going Oscar Smith, 35-14. I think they forced Frank Brown into a couple turnovers, and they cruise easily. And then that'll move us into the game of the week between two teams that, they might as well just start scheduling each other, for their non-district games. Wow. I mean, I know the Beach can't do it because they play, each other and they don't have non-district. But Bayside and Woodside are becoming buddies. They're not really buddies, but they're becoming, playing mates every postseason. And this will be the third straight year they face off. 10-0 Woodside, 8-2 Bayside.
Well, they've split the last 2 years, both in the Eastern Region semifinal games. Woodside knocked off Bayside 2009, 22-19. And then, of course, last year, Bayside beat the Wolverines 33-13. Coming into this game, Bayside is loaded at the skill position. They have Deion Stitt at quarterback. He's already broken E.J. Manuel's passing record. Manuel now with the Florida State Seminoles and doing very well there. Then they have Mizell at running back.
Smoke.
He's a young guy, a.k.a. Smoke. Well, he can run the rock pretty good. And then you have Anthony Cooper, who's going to UVA next year via Wahoo. He's electric. He is very electric. Last game, he had 74 yards receiving, 70 yards rushing. I mean, the guy, he can do it all. But the weakness for the Bayside Marlins is they're young and inexperienced in both sides of the offensive and defensive line. Yes. And that's where Woodside will win this game, led by Tyler Hargrove, who has come on strong the last 6 games of the season. They got Justin McFadden at linebacker, and they have the Mr. Everything, Donnell Lewis, in that secondary. And that guy, he gets around that field fast, and he can lay a hit on you. I like the Wolverines in this one, 24-20. I like Chris Muller's ability to kick off. He'll be kicking the ball in the end zone for touchbacks. Therefore, Bayside won't have an opportunity to return the ball. That's going to hurt them right there.
I see that as a huge X factor in this
Definitely,
game.
definitely. So I like the Wolverines to pull this one out.
Yeah, I agree with a lot of what you said. Smoke Mizell, he's an absolute stud. He's receiving SEC offers. I mean, the kid is dominant. But as you said before, the lines, and Woodside wins in the trenches. They have tough linebackers, tough linemen. Their defense is so underrated. Everybody talks about Donnell Lewis, and for good reason. Don't get me wrong. Donnell is a stud. But their line, both sides, that's who gets the job done. And, of course, nobody ever talks about your linemen. They're the quiet guys, don't get all the press. But both sides of their line are very, very strong. I see Woodside sneaking past Bayside, 21-20, in what's become their annual event. Honestly, in D6, anybody can beat anybody. I mean, definitely. All 8 seeds are tough teams. When your number 8 seed is 7-3, that should tell you right there how ridiculously tough the region is.
Yeah, if you look at the Division 5 region, the 8 seed's 5-5. Yeah,
I mean, Kickingham, who didn't even get in the D6, would have been like a 5 or a 6 in D5. Yeah. So that tells you how extremely tough D6 is. And I would not be surprised if there are a couple upsets in the D6 regional. But that pretty much wraps things up. Good luck to all the playoff teams, especially from the area. Anything you want to add for this week's show?
Yeah, we'll have our own separate show for the 757 all PD teams. That'll be coming out shortly.
And we'll also have that in the article form on the site. Also, I do have pictures from the Hampton Phoebus game. I haven't posted as of yet. We've got a lot going on. It's playoff time, and we've got a lot of stuff going. I do have some pictures, I believe, from a couple Bay Rivers games also that I do need to post. So, just to let you all know, I didn't forget about the pictures. I'm putting them up as fast as I can. We're just bogged down with a lot of stuff going on right now. As always, be sure to check us out on YouTube, youtube.com/757preps. Facebook, facebook.com/757preps. Please like us. We love all the feedback and everything like that. So if you have any comments or anything, you can leave it on the Facebook. You can leave it on the website underneath the stories, anything like that. As always, check us out, 757preps.com. Highlights, stories, pictures, standings, scores, you name it. And then, last but not least, the Twitter. You can check us at 757preps. We do update the scores as quick as we get them in. I'll put them right out to you. Anything else to add, Dan?
See you next week.
Alrighty, good luck, playoff teams. Let's go out and have some fun.